So in case you missed it, Red Sox designated hitter Rafael Devers said yesterday that he's basically not interested in moving to first base, at least as of right now. But here are the quotes, and there were a lot of them. I know I'm a ball player, but at the same time, they can't expect me to play every single position out there. In spring training, they talked to me and basically told me to put away my glove. I wasn't going to play another position other than DH. Right now, I don't think it would be an appropriate decision by them to ask me to play another position. They put me in this situation. They told me they didn't want me to play any other positions. Now they should do their jobs essentially and hit the market and look for another player. I'm not sure why they want me to be an in-between. Next thing you know, someone in the outfield gets hurt and they want me to play in the outfield. I know the kind of player that I am, and that's where I stand. They told me I'm a little hard-headed, but they already asked me to change positions once. This time, I don't think I can be as flexible. I don't feel they stayed true to their word. They told me I was going to play this position DH. Now, they're going back on that. He even had some things to say about the president of baseball operations, Craig Breslow. I'm not certain what issues he has with me. He played ball, and I would like to think that he knows that changing positions like that isn't easy. Thankfully, in the clubhouse, the relationship I have with my teammates is great. I don't understand some of the decisions that the GM makes. All right, so that's a lot to unpack. Now, my personal opinion on this is I think Rafi has some valid points, but I also totally see where the Red Sox front office is coming from too, so let's start there. Now, not too long ago, first baseman Tristan Casas ruptured his patella in the knee running to first base, and he's out for the entire year, with the Red Sox needing a solution at first base. And sure, Rafi said they were going back on their word, but in this case, no one saw the left knee of Tristan Casas exploding the way it did, and everything is fluid mid-season, so I don't see this as the Red Sox going back on their word or lying to him. I just see it as them trying to make adjustments because that's just how it goes sometimes. And in my opinion, Rafi's the most logical solution for first base. And no, he wasn't a good defensive third baseman, but for the most part, those skills at the hot corner translate pretty well to first base usually, and it's been proven by many guys in the past. Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera, Vlad Jr., Kevin Youkilis, even guys that played elsewhere like Hanley Ramirez moved there, Kyle Schwarber moved there on the fly. He was the first baseman for the Red Sox in the freaking postseason, for crying out loud. There's examples with other position as well. We've seen Jose Altuve move out to left field this year despite his size. Craig Biggio, one of the greatest second basemen of all time, played the outfield. Bryce Harper moving to first base, and no, that didn't have to happen. I've seen people out there saying that he was basically forced to move to first base, but no, he did it to get back to the lineup quicker, and he could have rehabbed to move back to the outfield eventually, but he did it to help the team long term. Freddie Freeman, don't forget, he played third base a little while back after coming back from an injury, so the good bat of Matt Adams could stay in the lineup. But the biggest reason why I think this is the best possible answer for the Red Sox is it gives them a lot more roster flexibility. It opens up the designated hitter spot to replace the batter Tristan Casas. This could allow them to bring back Masataka Yoshida, who can't really throw right now, but he can hit. Or perhaps you can call up the top prospect in baseball, Roman Anthony, and use him in a rotation between the outfield and DH. And all in all, Rafi moving to first base is the best solution in my opinion. And yes, I do think he would need some time to get adapted over there, take some ground balls pregame for a few weeks, even a month, whatever it may be, give him all the time he needs to get acclimated to the position, to learn the nuances of it, and in time, I do think it's the best move. There's also simply the team aspect of it, and in the end, it's a team sport. There's 26 guys in the clubhouse, he's getting paid the big bucks, and sure, that doesn't mean he has to play somewhere else, but when you're getting paid that much money, there's naturally going to be an expectation for that player to step up for the team and the organization, like many star players have done in the past. However, there's another side to this as well, and that's Rafi's side. I think he has some points. Go back to the Alex Bregman situation. They told Rafi they were going to move him off third base so they could put Bregman at third, and he was going to be the DH moving forward. They basically told him to get rid of his glove. Now that he's gotten used to a new routine at being DH, he's now being asked to learn a completely new position after he was told that he wasn't good enough to do a different job at third base. So I could also understand that he feels like he's getting jerked around a little bit. And when Craig went to talk to Rafi about playing first base, who knows how much time he proposed to him to get ready to play the position. My guess is that Rafi simply wasn't comfortable about the idea, at least as of right now. And in the end, Rafi knows himself better than anyone else, and if he thinks it's not a great idea, then I think it's fair to respect that point of view. change with anything in anyone's life is always tricky, and when you're asked to do it on the fly, on the highest possible stage, then yeah, I could see Rafi being a little hesitant. I could also point out the Red Sox organization themselves for not being prepared for a situation like this. I think they should have had some contingency plan in place already, whether that was someone in the minor leagues that could play first base, getting another player on the team ready for the position to give them more versatility. Heck, you could say they could have gotten Rafi reps at first base years back just in case they ever needed to make a move like this. And also, getting back to what I said earlier about Rafi thinking the Red Sox went back on their word, and again, I don't really see it like that, but I think the Red Sox could have done themselves a big favor by talking to him about first base at that point, just in case, so this wouldn't have come as a surprise. On the other hand, maybe you could say that Rafi could have been a bit more prepared himself, even though they told him, hey, you're going to be the DH. Maybe he could have told them, hey, I still want to take some ground balls at third base. Why not teach me about first base a little bit, just in case you ever need me out there? You could even look back at the Tristan Casas trade rumors this past offseason, and of course, it is a bit hindsight a bit, but they could have gotten the roster set a bit better, especially if they weren't fully sold on Casas at first base moving forward. However, I will say this, where I do think Rafi was completely wrong is calling out the front office the way he did. In my opinion, no matter how frustrated you may be, I don't think it's the best idea to be calling out your boss, the guy that's running the front office for the Red Sox, while also referring to him, Craig Breslow, as the GM instead of his actual name. I just don't find that very respectful, to be completely honest. And sure, it seems like he's not the biggest fan of Craig right now. I'm not sure how deep that goes, but even if you don't like your boss, you still have to be professional and not call them out publicly. Also, everyone, just want to let you know that we are partnered with Underdog Fantasy, and they got a new mode right now called Ladders Mode, where you get bonus multipliers if you keep hitting on your picks. So if you want to test out your expertise, go use my code Hyde to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits. With that said, let's get back to the video. Now, to me, the best way to resolve this is for everyone to sit down in a room, Rafi, Cora, Breslow, whoever else, and heck, even get the owner John Henry in there if that's what it takes. And don't leave that room until feelings from both sides have been aired out and a resolution is reached, whether that's him playing first base or not. Whatever it is, they need to get on the same page. However, we have seen similar situations like this in the past where resolutions were not reached. And I'm not going to lie, this whole thing kind of gives me flashbacks to Nomar Garciaparra back in 2004 and Manny Ramirez on a few different occasions. Now, both were disgruntled and eventually both were traded. Now, this situation is different because Rafi is in the early stages of a 10-year, $313.5 million contract, and that's not going to be easy to move, especially in season, while Nomar and Manny were close to free agency. But to me, if the front office is cheesed off enough with Rafi and they can't find a way to get back on the same page, the relationship is completely soured, then I wonder if a trade could be discussed, because I could see the Red Sox not wanting this to be a distraction, and I also wonder if perhaps some teammates might not be happy about it, maybe questioning his commitment a little bit, but also not having to hear about it with the media. I could see players just not wanting to hear about this at all, and that would be a further distraction. Also, don't forget, there was a report in spring training after the whole third base situation that he even considered asking for a trade. Now, it's also still very early in the season, so if that were the direction moving forward, the Red Sox would have some time to try and figure it out before the deadline. Again, though, I don't see this happening for a few reasons. One being the Red Sox want to win, and Rafi's one of the best hitters in baseball. Taking him out of your lineup doesn't really help you production-wise, and this would most definitely get their manager, Alex Cora, pretty cheesed off, if you ask me. And ownership loves having him in the organization, so I don't think they want to mess up that relationship. Now, you could argue that this would give the Red Sox more roster flexibility to call up someone like Roman Anthony and or even Marcelo Meyer, but trading Rafi still leaves you with a giant question mark in the lineup, and you still have a question mark at first base. Now, perhaps you could move someone from a different position to play first base, like Trevor Story or Christian Campbell, and then Marcelo Meyer could take one of their places, and then Roman Anthony could split between DH and the outfield. Again, though, you know what you're getting with Rafi, and that type of offensive production is very difficult to replace, especially on the fly in the middle of the season. And as of right now, he has an OPS of 834, which has been steadily climbing after a bad start, a WRC plus of 132, and he's shown far better plate discipline this year than at any point in his career. Another factor that would make a trade difficult is something I mentioned earlier, his contract. He's on a 10-year, $313.5 million contract that he started last season, and he'll be owed over $250 million through 2033. Combine that with the fact that he's not a good defensive third baseman, he's basically just a DH now, along with being disgruntled at this point, his contract might be too difficult to move because I don't know if a team out there would be willing to take that on. However, we have seen big contracts moved in season before, like Zach Greinke going to the Astros and Troy Tulowitzki going to the Blue Jays. However, let's say there are teams out there that are willing to make a move, and this would be the direction the Red Sox would want to go in. And again, I don't think so, but to keep an open mind, let's talk about some teams. I've seen some people mention the Cubs and they could play him at third base, but I don't see that happening because they're still high on Matt Shaw despite getting sent back down to the minor leagues. And they already have Seiya Suzuki at DH, along with the fact that they want to save their money to try and sign Kyle Tucker. I've also seen a lot of people mention the Blue Jays, who could use another bat in the lineup, but I don't see this happening either. They just signed Vlad long term, and I don't think the Red Sox would even consider trading Rafi in division. Maybe the Mets could be a possible suitor. Now, their payroll is already extremely high, especially after signing Juan Soto this past offseason, but Starling Marte is off to a bad start, and if they lose Pete Alonso in free agency next year, then Rafi would be very good insurance for that. Perhaps the San Francisco Giants. They're off to a very good start this year, but they could use a bit more production at the DH spot. Wilmer Flores could move to first base. Lamont Wade Jr. hasn't been playing very well, so this would definitely beef up their lineup. It would also possibly give them someone to finally hit over 30 home runs for the first time since Barry Bonds. Maybe the Phillies. He has a relationship with Dave Dombrowski from his days with the Red Sox. They won a World Series together in 2018, but would they want to take on another big contract? I'm not so sure. However, Kyle Schwarber is going to be a free agent after this coming year that would clear up the DH spot and money coming off the books. Nick Castellanos is going to be coming off the books in a couple of years, so there is that. You do have Alec Boehm at third base right now, though. He did get off to a bit of a slow start. He has been turning it around as of late, but what do you do with him? It's a bit of a logjam. You already have a lot of lefty bats in this lineup. Would you want to add another lefty bat in Rafi Devers? Doesn't seem like a great fit, but I could see the connection there. How about the St. Louis Cardinals? The guy that got Rafi's contract done in the first place, Hyde Bloom, is ready to take over as the next president of baseball operations starting next season, and Rafi could be a long-term middle-of-the-order bat for them as they transition into a new era of Cardinals baseball. And maybe you could even do something with Nolan Arenado, who has said he would be willing to play first base, which would help answer the Red Sox first base situation, and that could help the Cardinals replace his aging contract with a guy that's younger, in his prime, and would be the centerpiece of the team moving forward. In the end, though, I just don't see Rafi getting traded, at least this season. I think there's too many obstacles to overcome, including finding a team that would be willing to take on his massive contract mid-season, a possible strain on the relationship between Alex Cora and the Red Sox front office, and most of all, it would make the Red Sox weaker offensively, which would be incredibly difficult to overcome on the fly while trying to be contenders. For me, though, never say never, but in the end, I think if a trade ever does happen, it would be in the offseason down the road, but I just don't see a trade happening now. I say give it some time, and maybe Rafi warms up to the idea, and if not, then perhaps they could turn to another veteran like Trevor Story. Maybe they can give a shot to a younger player like Christian Campbell, who does have the height for first base, but I wonder if the Red Sox would rather have him develop at second base. Or maybe they can make a trade for someone like Ryan O'Hearn on the Orioles if they continue to fall out of it. Or maybe they could take a flyer on an old friend in Anthony Rizzo. But everyone, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Tell me your thoughts about the whole Rafael Devers Red Sox first base situation. I'd love to see your opinions. Give me some ideas on some possible trades. We love talking trades on this channel. But everybody, that's all I got for right now. If you can on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.